Hey everyone, hope you guys are enjoying Monster Hunter in whichever fashion you're choosing to play it as. And today I'm going to go over some of the recent news that we have for Monster Hunter Now regarding the latest patch changes and bug fixes with some brand new main features being adjusted as well. There's been a lot of discussion regarding paintballs in Monster Hunter as of recently, specifically in Monster Hunter Now, where players are not necessarily too happy with some of the changes that the game had originally. Some changes were made recently and things are being tweaked going forward as well as a couple of adjustments being made to the game as a whole. And players are not necessarily too thrilled with what Niantic is doing, but at the end of the day, it seems like they're at the very least trying their very best. This is the patch notes for version 63, I believe is what they're actually calling it. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description below to the official patch notes for you guys to check them out for yourselves. Although, of course, if you're already playing on the mobile devices, the game auto updates. So you should already have these changes already installed into your game. First and foremost, they mentioned that party members' avatars are now displayed onto the field. This is a small minor improvement where essentially if you don't necessarily remember a player's name, but you remember their icon or anything along those lines, their avatar, you'll be able to remember them through that little matter. I know if you're like on Discord or something, you see someone's avatar, I'm more keen to remember the avatar than their actual username. Another change is the criteria for party disbandment has been changed. After creating a party, if no hunt takes place for a certain period, a disband party confirmation will appear. This is directly to address one of the disconnect issues that some players were reporting on certain parts of the world. They were saying that they couldn't necessarily find players to hunt with, or they were like queued up for a specific hunt for longer than a minute or two and essentially just waiting to idle out. Now this disbandment option is pretty much going to be taking care of that issue going forward. Another one of the changes here in the patch notes is favorite features have been introduced. When you register an equipment you want to forge, upgrade or overgrade as a favorite, the materials necessary for this equipment will be highlighted accordingly. So you'll no longer have to be guessing as to which parts it is that you need, because of course, due to the atrocious drop rates, chances are you still need a couple of pieces. So this time things will be highlighted and they will be telling you right out of the gate which parts you're gonna need and pretty much what parts you already have to be able to craft and forge or upgrade whatever piece of armor it is that you want for your equipment. Another one of the new changes is ease of locking with lock-on. Skills using hunts have been adjusted. The lock-on feature is something that a lot of players have had issues with, although at the end of the day it seems to vary from weapon to weapon, and some changes are being made there specifically for the skills version of it. Another one of the new changes here we're seeing is that effects have been added when skills like poison resistance and paralysis resistance activate during a hunt. This is something that a lot of players were not necessarily too sure about when it was happening. With Puke, for example, I think I saw some complaints regarding the poison. They didn't necessarily know if it was working or not, if the resist was activated or not, but now you're going to be able to see some sort of UI changes telling you that it's actually working properly as intended. Another one of the changes, they mentioned that when you are down and don't have any recovery items left, you can now purchase a potion and use it immediately. Please note that timer keeps running during the purchase process. Now, of course, a lot of players already, the second that I saw this being posted in the notes, a lot of players were not necessarily too happy about this because, of course, they are promoting their shop at the end of the day. Not something that is too helpful to other players, but at the same time it is one of those things that is going to be beneficial to some, and you just want to be ready to, whenever you go into a hunt, be able to know that you're going to be able to complete it at the very least most of the time. Another one of the new changes is in the confirmation screen for starting a hunt with low health, you can now use recovery items. And this is one of those things that players have been complaining about for a bit, that they want to be able to kind of heal themselves up so they don't necessarily get thrashed in the middle of a hunt, and now they're going to be able to do just that. Again though, they're going to have less healing materials, and we're going to get to why that is in a minute. Another one of the new notes mentions that the number of nearby hunters in the hunt preparation menu for urgent quest is no longer being displayed. Again, this is in direct connection to the disconnects issue, where players were seeing how many players were available, but simply were not connecting, and they were very upset that that was not necessarily happening. So they're removing the option entirely, and it's not going to be that much of a problem. Another one of the changes is that the signs of certain hunters' medals in the UI have been changed in the hunter medal details screen. This is a small little update that really, unless you really care about medals or anything like that, at the end of the day, it most likely will not be making any sort of difference in your experience. They also mentioned that position of the close button has been adjusted. Again, another UI change. That's kind of expected. These are things that people have complained about, minor things here or there, and them adjusting these is part of the norm. When receiving first aid meds at the shop and exceeding the maximum possession amount, a confirmation screen will now appear. And that is because they also mentioned that the maximum possession amount of first aid meds is 10. Please note that any extras will be discarded. So this is in direct connection to basically coming in prepared and making sure that you have the right amount. A lot of players didn't necessarily know how many first aid meds were originally available to them. Now they're going to be able to know that, but at the same time, they also now will be able to be promptly known and told that if you go over 10, any extras will be discarded altogether. Lastly, in a couple of adjustments section, they mentioned that skills special boosts are now activated for longsword. So there's some small adjustments to the longsword. I cannot necessarily speak on whether this is a buff or a debuff. It doesn't seem to be, but we'll just have to wait and see how it ultimately stacks up at the end of the day. They also mentioned that discrepancy in monsters stars amount when joining a group hunt in response to join hunt invitations. And this one is extremely vague, and I'm not necessarily sure what to make of it. Does that mean that you're going to be fighting things closer to the level that you're hoping, or at the very least the level of star of monster that you're hoping to find? Or is this just still going to be random things where you're fighting 5 different versions of the same monster that you want, but not necessarily the proper star level that you're chasing after? I don't really have an answer to that, and they don't necessarily make it very clear as to what it could be. They also mentioned that AR camera display issues when placing or repositioning monsters has been adjusted. This is just for the photo mode option available there. They also mentioned that the time required to regain health may be reduced under certain conditions, but of course they don't necessarily explain as to what those conditions are. So a patch note that is not very detailed is almost a pointless patch note. Lastly, they mentioned that last stand descriptions in Italian descrizione modifica ultimo attacco. So it's ultimately a adjustment to language changes in Italian for the last stand skill. But that's pretty much all the information that we have for you guys today regarding the latest V63 patch notes for Monster Hunter. Now, they should be live in game right now, but if for whatever the reason they're not, you should be able to update your game automatically or manually at the very least in the App Store. If you're brand new to my channel though, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.